to what it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was crazy. But now, you guys are doing a good job, so I applaud you on that.
Okay, so
Thank you. For the record, we have not met before this evening.
All right, we got a question here in the back, David, for you as well.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I work in IT security, governance, risk compliance, and I'm a chapter member. And in addressing the issues of the IT systems in the VA, we see that the backbone hasn't even really been upgraded since '85, and there's been all these different charges up Hamburger Hill to get funding from Congress to do that, and then you go back down, and then you go back up the hill, and then you go back down. What we see in regards to the IRS, OPM, and a lot of the other IT systems is they rebuilt the backbones from an availability perspective, but confidentiality and security are totally lacking. And when the IRS Modernization Act of 1998 happened and it was delivered in 2006, it was delivered without a lot of your modules even available. Healthcare.gov was another example of that. Is it that the VA is waiting because of the sensitivity and the volume of sensitive information to update the systems? It seems like the entire backbone that undergirds the entire VA system is forever stalled while we watch the IRS get funding, OPM get funding, Healthcare.gov get funding. And where will the money be coming from to back that up? Because so many cascading problems come from that lack of funding for that system that needs to be rebuilt, and that slows down the process. When I left the 101st Airborne in 1990, and it was a paper-based system at Chapel Hill to get your VA benefits, but it worked. And I never missed a month. Even when I did a study abroad in Mexico and came back, I always got my check. But now, filing for disability claims is very difficult. A lot of that has to do with the processing, and a lot of that also has to do with the numerous bills in Congress right now for toxic exposure that aren't being passed. And that slows down the process for the VA, and I think we all need to sense of that, because just as the patient has an advocate to go against you guys, there is a lack of an advocate, VA employee, to Congress. And they make the bad girl list, bad guy list, and all the bad hospital list, and the good one is Santa Claus, who's naughty and nice list, and we hear it in the press, and the pressure's on you. Well, that impacts our care, because then it's trench warfare, you against us. And our bayonets stick, but yours don't. And a lot of veterans don't realize that. And so you guys get the hit a lot of times. And there's a lot of tension, and it's just like pulling on. There's more and more of this going on, and I think that there needs to be more of an advocacy for Veterans Affairs employees in Congress. I think that there needs to be more of an advocacy, because that cascading effect impacts our care. And we need to be aware of that. You know, one of the things we look at in regards to replacement of workers in America, sold out by Michelle Malkin and John Miano, who's a good friend of mine. Categorically, we're replacing American workers. And we've seen it as myself as a STEM worker in America. And it's not just in public, but it's in private. IRS, Healthcare.gov, all those systems were built against workers, and they were delivered horribly and without security. The biggest threat we face is in IT systems, and it impacts your job, and it impacts our care. So,
I think together we should answer this.
I paid for this, Mike.
What you said, is way above me, and it's a national funding issue. It's not a decision that Michael or I can make that would make us different from the folks down the street name the direction. It wouldn't matter. Somewhat to your point, at least from my perspective, is we have taken efforts as an agency to beef up our, and you got a lot more technical knowledge than I do, so I'm just going to say our computer application programs and everything. That being said, I know there's a long way to go. For us, this one thing is called BVMS. It's our electronic processing format. A lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money for that, so that we could get into an electronic format. We've done that. To my knowledge, it is a secure system. And if it wasn't, we would be hearing about it. And really, we haven't heard much about that. But there are so many computer databases that each of us have to draw from to, each of us, I mean the medical side of the house and the VBA side of the house, to perform our jobs. And getting all that stuff nicely packaged together and easily accessible and transferable is a challenge. And like yourself, who have more ability than I do to, eloquently address that, are on that. But much of what you say, I'm afraid, is a little beyond what I'm capable of giving you for a good answer this evening.
The one thing I'll say is, with Hector and Bob here, we've got two congressional staffers that are here that heard your message clearly. That I agree with you that we need that advocacy that exists between Congress in support of the VA and in support of the veteran, trying to reach that mutually beneficial outcome. So there are two of them that are right here, and actually Hector, to batter up and Bob. So that's exactly why they're here, is to hear what you're saying and to say we're here to support.
Thank you very much for your question. Let me just speak in general terms. 5 years ago, the relationship between members of Congress, at least locally, and the VA, we were at extreme odds. We were where you were. We weren't getting the service for our veterans. You remember the balance we had back then? Well, all of that, slowly but surely, has been improving. We can't switch a bad situation overnight. I know these two gentlemen that are here, Emmett and Michael, Richard. We speak regularly. In fact, Richard and I had a conversation early today. And how we learn what's going on with veterans is when veterans don't get the satisfaction from the VA. And I encourage you to do this. Call your congressional member immediately. Their job is to pick up the phone and get with these gentlemen to get answers for you. That's the only way we can help the VA identify the issue so we can correct the issue. The situation on medications and emergency ER. We had a situation, without mentioning a name. A veteran has a heart attack January 1st, 2016. 5 days later, he goes from his private hospital over to the VA. The VA merely takes a doctor at the VA, gets a prescription, and does exactly what someone said. They gave him different medication. This veteran, all he asks is, why are you giving me different medication than what the doctor prescribed for me? And that answer, up until today, January, it's taken this long for him to get some satisfaction. And this I want to know with the Veterans Administration. Do not forget that you are a service organization, and here are your customers. In fact, some of you are the customers. Your friends also, as I am. But this is the one thing that fails. We have to learn from one individual. Let's not let it multiply to 100 individuals. So every case that we call to your attention, we expect that you will look into them so it doesn't repeat itself. That's how we work for you and everybody here.
Actually, yeah. So, and I'll tell you right now is that we do actually work with our offices, and they're good partners to us to kind of advocate the way you're saying. Because without them knowing what's going on, how else would they know some situations that we have internally? You got to be quick though, because we got other people on the topics.
These two guys over here that work for the Congress and the Congresswoman, they have the tough job because they don't go to the city. You guys are the ones who go out and do the trench warfare yourselves. And so I don't want to discount what you have to do. You have to do the heavy lifting, the dirty work, and get your hands dirty. So thank you for your service as well. We appreciate that. But there are instances where we do call our congresswomen, like I did. We get very disrespected by staff members. They are not you. You're up here. Okay, but down below, you should be checking a little bit more on your staff, and your staff specifically. Other instances, not just myself, but call. you guys have a lot of dirty jobs, and maybe they should put you on dirty jobs, and then you know a little bit about what you do, digging into the bowels of government. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's not dirty, it's a privilege. We're lucky to do what we get to do, both congressional or VA.
Let me take a couple of mine before I go back over to Emmett, just because there's a question that I think dovetails on what we were just talking about. So, Ms. Hughes asked me, what options do you have available when you have issues about the quality of care you've received and the patient advocate office does not resolve your issue? So, the answer to that question, although I like to think that the patient advocate office tries to resolve every issue, if they can't, you've got certainly your congressman. You can come to my office. I've got a quality of care department. If you don't trust that, there's also the inspector general who you can call, and they will do an inquiry to it. As well as, I mean, in the most extreme cases, if you feel like you've really been wrong, you can file a tort claim. So there are several different avenues you can go to. Again, though, I hope that you will try internally first, because we do try and provide that service recovery. Scott Holcomb, who keeps me honest, it seems like every chance he gets, says, I have attended all town halls, yet most of my past card questions have remained unanswered, even though I've received personal assurance they would be. VA needs an accounting procedure to account for all cards and make sure there's follow-up. I couldn't agree more. I like to think that the most important ones we make sure we prioritize, like the first inquiry from the caregiver. That particularly, I will certainly make sure that we get back to you. But everybody who has cards, even if you've already read them, to give them back to me at the end, and then I'll make sure that there's some sort of personal follow-up. So that's something I have not done very well. Mr. Posick, is this a contracting issue that I need to talk to you separately, you think? Okay, so maybe you should do this in your own words, because I'm not sure I understand what you wrote on the card. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Sir, since 1991, the reserves have been a key part of the military. And I would like to ask you why, when one asks from the National Archives, our medical records, the only thing we get are active duty records that go to the VA. And none of what happens during reserves is available to us to give to the VA. Can you answer that one, please?
Yes. Your reserve records, if we know the unit that you're will be holding your reserve records, we would go to the unit. 1991, I would expect that the records have been sent to the record center. It's not the case. Then we would have to follow up directly with the reserve unit. But that unit has been retired, then those records should go there. So what I'm going to have to do is, what is your name? What is your name? Okay.
Did you fill out a card with us, or we just got you? You did. Okay.
I'll give you my card. And, in the interest of time, I want to keep moving on. Mr.
Heath, just you guys.